Salt fish. It's been around a long time, hasn't it? Codfish, split and salted and cured in the sun till it's dried, hard and white. This is what drew our ancestors here long ago. This is what they fought and slaved over, the salt codfish. It's still a part of Newfoundland, not like it was, for the main trade is now in fresh fish. Still, now and then, here and there, you'll still find fish out drying in the sun, a reminder of the old days. But let's not dismiss our oldest industry too quickly, for it's still very much alive. In fact, the price for salt fish is higher than ever. It's a gourmet food now. The marketplace is crying out for salt cod. It's gold dust. Tonight's program, though, is not a researched, documented probe into the salt cod business. It's a light, casual look through the eyes of a few people who've been involved in this business all their lives. They'll look back and they'll look ahead. And we'll see some interesting, intimate connections that still exist between the northeast coast of Newfoundland and the source of much of this province's salt cod, the coast of Labrador.
The real Labrador for Conception Bay fishermen was from Battle Harbour to Holton. A lot of Conception Bay people went to Holton and Smoky and Indian Harbour, all along the coast. All along the coast. It was populated by Newfoundland fishermen.
Still, there are signs here and there that the fishery may come back. One crew in Farmer's Cove hauled 20 quintals the day we were there. They were fishing out of Domino, so that's where we headed next. I wanted to see this sheltered little indraft in Domino Run, this place where so much fish was landed years ago. I was soon to learn that the Newfoundland connection was not completely severed, for here in Domino, standing bold and solid against the cliff, was the property of H.B. Daw of Cupids, Conception Bay. A store, a shop, fishing facilities, supplies, salt, it was all here. A base for the summer fishery, a toehold in Labrador. Practically everything else was gone. Only a handful of people live in Domino. One of them is Maxwell Clark.
Tell me about Domino now when you started here first. There must have been a lot more people than there is now.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, motorboats, nearly all motorboats. Now the day, nearly all speedboats. Scattered motorboats, but not too many, but there's a lot of speedboats now.
Do you stay here all year round now?
Yes, sir, all year round. I stay right here in Domino.
You're about the only crowd here, are you?
yes, sir. Only crowd here. They're all the spotted, they all go down the Goose and the Cartwright in one place or another. But we just stay all year round.
Find it lonely here at all?
No, sir, we don't hardly get time to be lonely. Got in the fall now, that's after fishing is all over. We go to work and we take our nets aboard and we go out here to point. To a point out there, what they call a mistaken point. And you go to work and set the seal nets.
So you're doing pretty good with the fish now. Your son is taking over the boat now, is he?
Yes, sir, the young fella now. He got it all took over, and I suppose if he follows on, he's going to make a very good year, I think. According to what he's doing now.
So they're doing pretty good with the trap?
Yes, they're doing pretty good with the trap. They got 2 traps out.
But now a lot of people say the fishery is failing here.
Yeah, that's right, sir. A lot of people now, they don't bother fishing. Most all salmon catchers, a lot of people salmon catchers, all right, but they don't be many traps out now like it used to be. I see a time there in the Farmer's Cove that there might be 15 or 20 traps. Now look what the day, there's only just 2 or 3 traps, Farmer's Cove. We was 2 yesterday, we see.
There was a bit of fish there yesterday, but nothing like it used to be, I suppose.
Not like it used to be, no, sir. Not like it used to be. We often loaded the oil 3 and 4 boats. Not the only feet. You load one, the fish flicking that about full, right from one end to the other. Then another boat is all in need load.
Was that the best place for trapping on this shore?
Well, all the coasts there'll be a bit of fish, mostly. So I don't know what to do with it now, and where the fish took a different slew, but there haven't been not that much fish, not since the gillnets come up. Where the gillnet now gets all the breeding fish, or what do with it anyway, something or another anyway. So strange about it, eh?
But now
I mean, there's not that many people fishing now to catch all the fish or anything like that, because there used to be twice twice the people. Yes, 3 times the people, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it didn't make any difference. Every year, people get the void of the fish. Yes.
And now there's a lot of rock cods, eh?
Yes, now there's a lot of rock cods. When we used to be fishing, time after time, on the traps, not very often ever you'd see a rockland, was it? Not very often.
Now your son, Bob, we saw him haul in about, I suppose he got about 20 quintals all told yesterday over there.
Oh, yes, sir, yeah.
But now would that be a big day's catch years ago?
No, sir. No, it wouldn't. No, whatever. There'd be boats bring about 20 quintals them times. 15, 20 quintals, most everyone.
At a haul?
At a haul, yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Must have been a pretty busy place.
Oh, yes, sir, pretty busy place, yeah. You'd be at it all the week. And when Saturday would come, we'd say, well, you'd never haul Sunday, because everybody would be glad to lie down and get a blow for Monday.
20 quintals of fish in Clark's Trap in Farmer's Cove. Not a bad sign that the fish could return. And so we left Domino on the coast of Labrador, the tiny outpost for a fishery that was supposed to die. Well, I was curious about the Domino-Cupids connection, so when I got home I went to Cupids and climbed the hill on the far side of the harbour. It was quite a day. It was quite a view. This is one of the oldest places in Newfoundland. John Guy had a settlement here in 1610, somewhere back there at the end of the harbour. I don't know if John Guy and his men caught many fish. At any rate, I doubt if they ever sailed to Domino. That came later when Conception Bay became crowded with fishermen. Men had to catch fish in order to live, and if that meant sailing 500 miles north through ice-choked waters, well, that's what they'd do. H.B. Dahl was one of these fishermen. He went north as a boy with his father, but soon struck out on his own. He proved to be quite a fisherman, and later quite a businessman. At 76, he still punches in a full day at the office and in the plant, and out here, checking the fish. But while H.B. Dahl didn't mind walking in front of the camera, he shied away from our tape recorder. So we cornered his accountant and right-hand man for the past 21 years, Mr. Irving Mercer.
Domino is not much change in Domino today as previous years. Mr. Dahl bought Domino from C.N. Dahl and Company, as Charles Dahl and as Dahl. They established first in Domino, and they had their establishment was in Bay Roberts, and they had schooners built in Bay Roberts, and from A to Z, and they took people on the Labrador and brought them back again, and exported their fish from Labrador. They had big square rig schooners come down, and they'd load them and export the fish right from Labrador.
Well, here's something else that sails straight out of Labrador. The tower the Americans had at their site in the outside part of Spotted Island. Section by section, bolt by bolt, it was dismantled and shipped here to Cupids to become the office and headquarters of H.B. Dahl Limited. The Labrador salt cod fishery is far from dead for Mr. Dahl. It continues to supply his plant here in Cupids. But the Labrador connection is more than business. 2 years ago he went back to Domino, where he fished before, and set a trap too in Domino Run, just like he did long ago. But make no mistake, saltfish is not sentimental nonsense to H.B. Dahl. It's a business, and a promising one. At 76, he's still surging ahead, hoping to expand, looking north again to Labrador, sending supplies to Domino, encouraging the fishery there, and expanding his drying facilities in Cupids, where 50 people are employed at the peak of the season. He's one of many fishermen businessmen who've stuck with our oldest industry and done well with it. There are others along the coast who have close connections with the coast of Labrador. Conception Bay was the home of the stationers. Bonavista Bay, the home of the floater fishermen, those who'd live aboard their schooners on the coast of Labrador. The Clarenville, the last of the splinter fleet, she was designed for the saltfish trade. We found her tied up and frozen in last week at Glovertown. She's owned by the Burries, but Captain Max, one of the northern fish killers, is no longer in the salt fish business.
Well, what we're doing right now, Dave, is handling dry squid, pickled mackerel, pickled herring. We're still in the fish business. In other words, we can't get away from that. But you say salt cod. Salt cod is practically gone as far as the average fisherman is concerned. First and foremost, it's destroyed. The stocks are destroyed. That can be taken in quantity as we used to, because our voyage would be anywhere from 3,800 to 4,200 cantles. The last 10 years I was on the Labrador, but I don't think there's enough people in Newfoundland to get that in traps over the same period that we used to do it, so the thing is non-profitable.
With the high prices of salt fish, you still aren't
Cannot
interested?
be produced. Cannot. We got to, in other words, the best thing I could do on the Labrador, in fact, we got the Clarenville. That's what we got her for. She's just lying there. If it would open up, we would go back there, but we would have to buy fish from the longliners and process it. No way could we trap it. First thing, we wouldn't get the men. That era is past where our good trap men is gone. Undoubtedly get a few, but they're smart enough to be in their own boats and so on, have their own traps. But to pick up a crew of men, 20, 25 men like I used to have in the Swicker, no way. It could not be. It just wouldn't work.
Tell me again, now what drove you away from the Labrador fishery?
The Russians, Jesus, you know what done that, Dave. When they took the stocks out of the Hamilton Bank, there was no 6 and 8 year olds came to land. We used to fish 90% of all the fish that ever I took on the Labrador was from 6 to 8 years old, just the ordinary what we call trap fish. Now what we're getting down there now is the big old groaners, the ones who never came in shoal to chase the bait or eat the blackberries. It's the old ones. They were always there, but we never bothered them.
So the fishery there now, at least the fishery that's starting to come back, is a longliner fishery, and that's what they're getting. Eh?
Well, if we could conserve the Hamilton Bank and the Great Northern Bank, say for 3 months period, December, January and February, because with the ice covering March and April, the exploitation wouldn't be very much. But that period is the period of spawning. And that is the period which they should be left alone. Now we'll go back to Prime Minister Peckford. You see, Peckford is on the right track. If he would opt for conservation these 3 months, if he could only get that for the Labrador coast, he wouldn't have to worry about his coastal people. The fish would reproduce and come back. Without the start of war, it'd drive the Russians the hell out of it. Then it'll come back like it came back in the North Sea. You see, the North Sea was fished out prior to the last World War. Well, after the 6 year war period, there was millions of fish. They rejuvenated over the 6 year period.
So you still think our future is in the fishery?
Well, our native people, yes, definitely. Our native people on the coast and our Newfoundland people on the north of Newfoundland, you know, they got to depend on the fishery. Because after all, you know, oil, I've been in these oil-producing countries, say in Caracas, in Venezuela, up in the Malibu Lake there. Sure, there's more people there, poor people there, Dave, than there ever was or ever will be in Newfoundland. There's only just qualified personnel that works on that. How much of an impact do you think in the labor force is oil on Hibernia going to mean to Newfoundland? What it's going to mean to Newfoundland actually is going to be royalties. We get money in royalties, sure, if we find it. But don't kid yourself about everybody in Newfoundland out working on a raft out Hibernia, 196 miles east of St. John's. So that part of it, it'll only be the secondary industry supplying them. You'll find it in St. John's maybe. We won't know there's oil out there from air, only we might get better pavements or from the Heritage Fund, which we will build up. But first, see Dave, we got to write off our equalization grants. If we're getting 60 million from Ottawa now, we got to make $60 million there before we start getting the extra cent, you know. They're not going to still give us the 60 million. And you get bushed on the Labrador. I'm bushed to a point that even the native people made me a honorary native of the Labrador. I got the flag in the house, I'll show you, where they presented me with a plaque as a honorary native of the Labrador.
According to that vessel you got out there now, you're not finished with it yet.
Well, we got that vessel to put her back in the fishery. We try to keep our feet wet all the time. I stayed in pickle fish. My boys one of them are boat building. And I got one son fishing now, by the way. He's up in Old Perlican with a little dragger. And Jim is in the other business. He's a master mariner and an engineer at the same time.
Can we go down now and take a look at your vessel?
Oh yes.
Tell me about it.
With old Claremont.
Yeah.
We got her in there on the mud to rebuild. We're trying to arrange the credits because it's it's quite an extensive repair job that she would want. It would cost $250,000 maybe.
Captain Burry, that's one of the famous splinter fleet, is it?
Yes, that was the first one was built in Claremont, Dave, in I'd say about 1940, 42, during the war. She was built to take our fish at that time because bottoms were scarce, to take it to the Caribbean, to Puerto Rico, which is still our biggest market, and or Trinidad, Barbados. And then on the return trip, she would pick up saltine in Agua or rum, molasses. In other words, she was in the regular Newfoundland trade with 9 other sister ships at the same time.
And she's the last one
She's
surviving.
the last of the era, yes. And we're trying to make her last. We're in the process now of having the thing rebuilt. So she'll go on for another 20 years, I hope.
Well, now, you're not really in the salt fish trade, but you're interested in reviving it, maybe? You're helping revive it?
No way, not under the Salt Fish Corporation, Dave. If private enterprise, there would be a lot of us in the salt, because we got to fish for someone else now, and being a Newfoundlander and an old-time fisherman, we like to fish for ourselves, market ourselves. In other words, we were a bunch of individualists, and that's the way it should be now, in my thinking.
How do you mean? Now, how would you organize the salt cod fishery now if you had your way?
Under the present setup, what I would like to do, Dave, is take that boat and go on the Labrador when the longliners goes up there. Pay them the regular market price, salt the fish in the hole, and bring it back, get it processed, and export it yourself.
So
Get whatever you could get in the market. You get different markets, different grades, so on and so on. The market is still there because, as I told you before, I've spent 20 consecutive years in Puerto Rico, right in our biggest market. And you can't buy salt cod there in the wintertime. There's not there. You buy ache and anything else, but not our cod. If you do, you pay $3 or $4 a pound for it.
So you see this then as being sort of, to replace the barge that's been used on the coast of Labrador the past few years?
The barge, I would give them that vessel for what it costs to move the barge. They could charter that one for what it costs to move her, other than the maintenance and all the like of that. It would be cheaper to have that boat because it's mobile. It could fish in Indian Harbour, it could fish in Grady, it could fish in Black Tickle, it could fish anywhere, or it could go back and forth to collect from the fishermen. But as is, that's a stationary unit, a very expensive unit. That costs $250,000, $300,000 a year to operate, personnel and maintenance and one thing or the other. When this thing for $50,000. There's no comparison whatever to that kind of a unit. I don't refer to that one, but any unit of that type.
Well, now, one vessel, no matter how good she is, wouldn't supply
No,
the
you'd
whole
want
coast.
about 2 or 3, because we should start off in Port au Soir in the spring of the year, or Blanche-Ballon, or Red Bay, anywhere, you understand.
Well, so you see this Clarendon now, the last of the splinter fleet. You'd like to see her done up and
Well, we
made ready
will
for-
see her done, Dave, because what we're trying to do is arrange credits to rebuild her, and if we don't get any credits, then we'll do her with our own resources, which is quite expensive. We're looking for, let's say, $500,000 or $250,000 to rebuild that. That's what it would cost.
And then you're going to go to Labrador?
Then what we do, we put her out in the trade and make money.
But will you go,
We'd even send her in the Caribbean with a load, or she's capable of going anywhere then. Eh?
but would you go to Labrador with the Clarendon?
Oh
now?
yeah, sure we would. Yeah, but we would start up around, let's say, Blanche-Ballon, or over in Port au Soir, or anywhere where we could buy fish to salt.
But now, can you do it now with the existing regulations and?
Here's our problem. With Confederation, what we got was a truckload of laws. Law, this license to catch anything, So we're so complicated that the individual or the independent fisherman is almost afraid to risk his own money. And as you know, we got no government loans, never had any government loans. We're completely an independent operators, so we got to watch where we're going.
But could you go to Labrador and buy fish as things stand right now?
Oh, I would say so. No law against that, I don't think. No law against that.
That's
the,
what
the
you're
other fella got to get the license, not us,
So you're hoping to revive your interest in the Labrador fishery?
Yeah, well,
one way or another.
my son you just met there, Jim, he'll be the guy behind it, sure. And he's a navigator himself, eh? Captain and diesel engineer, he's got to work, see? And Peckford is certainly in the right, you know, to conserve that stock. But I know he won't get control because that's the federal government's authority. But if Peckford can only win conservation, December, January, February, let them go after him. They got to fight for him. But they haven't got to fight for him when they take them in the spines. So I would say if Peckford can win that, he's won his battle.
The Labrador connection is strong all along this coast. The salt cod fishery is not dead. There are still hopes and plans and dreams. It's been a long time since Captain Mex first sailed north to Cape Harrison and the Farmyard Islands. A long time since H.B. Daw first pulled a fish over the gunwale in Domino Run. Yet both these men continue to keep alive their interest in Labrador and the saltfish trade. Most of our saltfish once came from Labrador. Thousands of men were employed, hundreds of vessels. The northern fishery practically disappeared. Now it has a chance to come back. Markets for saltfish have never been stronger. Prices have skyrocketed. Will the rebuilding of the northern cod stock mean a rebirth of the salt cod trade? Perhaps. For as we've seen today, the tradition, the vision of a new northern fishery is still very much alive.